I had no job. I was just laid off from my job during COVID. My wife was also a full-time mom at that point. I was coming off of a huge financial challenge in my first business, which was in real estate investments. I was able to trust myself much more after that because I was able to climb out of it. I didn't give up in the time. And then I was able to actually climb out and see the other side. Now fortunately you get the hindsight of looking back and say, oh, I can do really hard things and I can deal with a lot of pressure and a lot of stress.
So Cody, if I had met you before EverBee started, who would I have been meeting? What was your life like at that point?
Oh, that's a good question. You would have met the Cody that was super inspired to change his life, to make a difference in his family's life. Very, very family focused. At that point I was married. I had 2 kids. I had no job. I was just laid off from my job during COVID. My wife was also a full-time mom at that point. I was coming off of a huge financial challenge in my first business, which was in real estate investments. And I had one flip. We were flipped houses. And I had one house that just didn't sell. And that thing drove me insane. It almost drove me to bankruptcy. And at that stage, I was able to stabilize that. So if you met me then, I was probably just coming out of that, just finally stabilized some of my finances. And I was leaning all the way in on my e-commerce business for probably a little while, probably 6 months, which was starting to take off too. So selling physical products, had a brand, and I was doing that. But you'd also met me at the time where I was coming out of tech as my full-time career. I was also starting multiple tech projects. So I had multiple projects going on that I wanted to start a tech company. But e-commerce was the thing that was paying my bills at that moment.
I've heard you talk about before that moment of being close to bankruptcy. And I think I've had a similar experience. And it's something that I've seen amongst a lot of the successful entrepreneurs. It almost seems unanimous, that experience of being at the brink of, everything falling apart. What did you learn from that? And how do you think your approach to business and just life in general, how was it reshaped by that experience?
Such a good question. What I learned from that was I learned that I'm capable of way more than I thought previously. Meaning the amount of stress and the amount of complexity and analyzing hard things, and also the emotional, just that all the combination that makes those things really, really ugly and messy. I was able to trust myself much more after that because I was able to climb out of it. I didn't give up in the time. And then I was able to actually climb out and see the other side. Fortunately you get the hindsight of looking back and say, oh, I can do really hard things and I can deal with a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and a lot of weight. I can deal with that. That's something that really pressure tested me. And I think it really helped me, and it served me then and it serves me now. And what's more important, I think, is it serves my wife and my children now and for the future. And fortunately, because I'm building a business, and as you know, as a fellow business person, entrepreneur, we're in business for other people. So fortunately, all of our customers get those benefits too. Because we get to do hard things and we get to do it to help their lives ideally be better. That's why we're in business. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I would take from that experience.
There's probably a lot of people watching right now, just statistically speaking, that may be going through that hard moment for them right now. And it's different for everybody. It takes different shapes and sizes. But to put a phrase to it, it's like when we're starting to question the initiative or the path that we started down, and where we were previously starts to look more advantageous than where we are currently. So was there any one thing in particular that helped you push through? Or was it a mindset or something in your childhood? What was it about you that allowed you to push through it?
I appreciate that question. There's probably lots of things that build up each one of us as individuals, right? For me, I feel like I've always thrived in adversity, not because I'm special or gifted in that way. I think it's just because maybe there's no other option, or I'm not sure what it is. But for me, I had crippling anxiety when I was a child. Couldn't go to school, was embarrassed, a lot of shame, eroded my confidence completely. Felt like I had to control everything and I had control of nothing as a child. Couldn't sit in a classroom without having like a panic attack. Couldn't even stay at my dad's house, right? Because same reason. And so I was fortunately I was able to, I don't want to say overcome anxiety, because anxiety is a thing that we all have. But the point was is like overcome some of the cripplingness of all those things and actually deal with those really hard things. So that's one thing that serves me now. Looking back on that, it helps me kind of deal with adversity. The second thing, my dad was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when he was 40. I was young. And watching your loved one, anybody here has loved ones, has parents, and watching your dad go from walking to wheelchair to shame to, but still somehow he's working hard to overcome, his things, and then eventually seeing him pass when I was 20 years old, when I should be having my first drink with my dad. We were at his funeral, right? And this was 19 days before my 21st birthday. And so I'm so lucky to have these experiences in my past, because my future self and my people, anyone that belongs in my future, they get the benefit of all the stuff that Cody had to go through in the past. I'm not sure if that answers your question fully, but that's certainly what built me into who I am and who I'm becoming. And I think it'll be more of those things.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And I think the thing that I'm taking for what you're saying is, it sounds like with each of these hardships, you have a internal story that, because my hardships define who I am and who I get to be, not that they're things that hold me back or keep me in place. And so it's things that every time I encounter something like that, it makes me better. Is there anything, which you put it beautifully, was there a moment that is like, growing up, I had lots of moments like that where it's very easy to fall into, if we want to call it victim mentality or like why me type thinking. And I think obviously there's a million aspects to starting and growing a profitable business, but I think if we could bottle up one piece, it's that, like essentially the win or learn mentality. What would you say to anybody who's currently facing, it's one of those opportunities? They didn't win recently, but they have either a loss or an opportunity to learn on their hands. How would you encourage them or open up the opportunity for them to view it as a learning opportunity instead of a loss?
I think, fortunately, when you have a growth mindset, so I was blessed with a growth mindset, and I think anybody listening to this has that growth mindset too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to something like this. We've probably all heard of Tony Robbins, and I haven't bought a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, but I've definitely paid attention to what he pushes, what he talks about, and I've learned from him, and I learned from a lot of others as well. And something that is really, really important that I believe has helped shape me is nothing happens to you. It happens for you. And he says it probably better than that. But the point is instead of the victim mentality, taking like, oh, my dad died, and I have anxiety. I'm facing financial ruin. XYZ. We all have those things. Every single person listening to this has that similar story, just different things. Great. Now it's like, you're going to use it to serve you, or you're going to use it to like hold you back? And so for whatever reason, Tony Robbins sticks in my head a little bit of like, everything's happening for me. And I love this. If I mix this with the universe, I think he describes the universe in this way, but for me, I'm Christian, so I think about God. God is literally sharpening me. It's making me stronger. And how would you ever make somebody, really, really strong? Would you like put them in like a soft like pillowcase and like bubble wrap, and like, would that callous his skin? Would that callous his mind? Would that make him mentally resilient? No, it wouldn't. You put this person in the fire. You put him in a war. You put him in tough financial and emotional decisions. You would give him a hard life, not an easy life. And so I think for me, I turn to prayer a lot. I turn to the universe, and I turn to God a lot. That's my thing. Not everybody has to do it that way. And it certainly helps me with those times of, wow, I just don't see clear, and I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah. And I think that outlines beautifully the mindset building blocks that you came into what many people know you for, which is EverBee. And people looking at EverBee today, myself included, it could be easy to see, oh, it's this big successful company, hundreds of thousands of users, it's well known. it's easy, but obviously you more than anybody can testify, I'm sure, to what it was like in the very beginning. Was probably the polar opposite to what we're all familiar with today. So I'm curious, could you take us back to like the first couple of days or weeks after launching EverBee, what that process was like for you personally and how you started and like ultimately grew it to, your first handful of paid users, just getting things off the ground?
Totally. Yeah. Thanks for that question. Because it's cool to look back on it. We're approaching our 4th year in business now with EverBee. So we're still a baby. We're still a toddler, I would say. We're a toddler, or maybe approaching kindergarten. It's certainly what it looks like today was not what it looks like, 4 years ago. And also just personal life. Like it looks completely different. We had to, at this point, I was laid off and I was making a decision with my wife. We're talking about, hey, should I go get a job and work on this thing on the side again? Or should I lean all the way in? This is after years of contemplating whether I should quit my job and all this stuff. Like this isn't just like a quick thing. We're entrepreneurs. We always want to quit our job to like build our thing. And so we're at that stage finally though, where it's like, what does God want us to do here? What should we do? And my wife was all in on just like, you should not go back and get a job. Like this is the time. Like you need to like lean all the way in. And that decision of focus and the intense, like no distractions, all in on something was a major thing. But but for that to happen, we had to sell our personal house. We had to sell all of our real estate holdings. So I think I had 2 homes at the time, like investment properties, not luxury homes, investment properties, sold my personal residence in order to make this happen. We banked all of that, which was not a lot of money, by the way. It sounds like a lot, but it wasn't a lot. It was basically and we lived in San Diego, California. And we're like, cool, this is our war chest. We're going to put this in savings and we're going to pay ourselves from our savings until we get this thing to be profitable. At that point, it took about a year and 3 months, maybe a year and 6 months to actually get to that point where I finally wrote myself a salary check for $5,000 a month, which was still, by the way, not break even in San Diego, California. But it was right then I was like, wow, we made it. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. We're going to making it work. I'm never going back. And this is the turn of the page. So that was about 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, which is crazy.
So you liquidated assets, basically went all in, to put it simply, and burned the boats from all previous, like leading up to that, you had real estate, multiple investment properties. You had like a lot of real estate experience that you had built up. And you also had e-commerce, like side projects or businesses that you were working on. What did it take in order for you to get to that point of finally deciding, hey, out of everything that I have going on, I'm going to clear the board and start fresh and go all in on one opportunity? And in this case, it was software, it was EverBee. But the point being, like, you cleared everything and went all in on one opportunity. What helped you make that decision? Was it like
It's confidence. There's confidence. Yeah, because the reason why, if you think about entrepreneurs, including myself, the reason why we start to diversify is because we lack confidence in one of the streams. That's why we diversify. Literally, that's why you buy 10 stocks instead of 1 stock, because you're not sure about the 1 stock. So I better buy 9 more, to make sure, just in case the 1 stock goes down, like I'm good over here, because you lack confidence. And when you have confidence, finally, I built myself up to the point of like, oh, I get it now. As soon as you go all in, Cody, like you're the difference maker. As soon as you go all in on one thing, it becomes successful. As soon as you start to water yourself down across 5 things, everything becomes average or below average and eventually fails. So it was the confidence that I finally had after multiple years of starting these entrepreneurial journeys and like these things. So at that point, we're probably 3-4 years into entrepreneurship in general. Eventually, I just like had enough confidence that you're like, oh, wow. Focus is the game. Where focus goes, energy goes, or where focus goes, energy flows, something like that, right? It's the thing they say.
Yeah.
It's exactly the truth. Like, and energy is money, it's success, it's momentum. And so when you focus on something, it unlocks it. Actually, it unlocks it. And I always have this thing I always say in my head is, and I actually say it out loud too, at our company is, when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And so when you say no to the e-commerce business, the extra e-commerce business, when you say no to the real estate training that you think you want to do, when you say no to the crypto that you want to buy and you want to like trade crypto daily. When you say no to those things, you're saying yes to the main dream, to the main thing. And that's a beautiful thing. And that unlocked for me at that time. And we serve over 1 million users now at this point across the world. We have 45 full-time employees plus a whole bunch of contractors. So we employ a lot of people and more coming. It doesn't happen without focus, and it's not gonna stop.
Yeah. And something that I think you do exceptionally well, just from what I've observed on the outside looking in, is that with that focus, one, you harness it and try to coach it to everybody, not just on your team, but everybody around you, which is a gift to begin with. But two, from what I observe, it seems like the focus that you have almost starts and ends with what's going to do best by our customers, by our users. And if we just wake up each day and commit ourselves to that goal, whatever it looks like, and we make sure that we have a singular line of sight on that, then good things will happen over a long enough time period when we stay consistent. Was that always the mindset that you had from the very beginning? Did it mature over time? What was that process like?
I think it didn't happen at the beginning. I didn't always have that. I think just by studying, by being a student of the game, right, and student of other successful people, paying attention to what they do is really, really important for me. One, Jeff Bezos. Who doesn't know Jeff Bezos? Who shouldn't be thinking about leadership, taking leadership advice from Jeff Bezos, right? Like, he's arguably one of the best leaders in the world. The main thing he always talks about is customer obsession. Like, it always comes down to the same thing. So if the main people are saying to do something, you pay attention. You should pay attention to them. And then Elon Musk is another one, great inventor. And he talks about the platonic ideal of things. Like, how do I visualize like the idealistic version of this product for our customer? So if you merge those two things, they're both talking about the same thing, talking about creating a great product for a specific type of individual. This is something that I just learned over time, just by reading books and listening to podcasts, listening to interviews. And fortunately, it kind of just downloads into your brain eventually. And that's kind of like what we're trying to replicate here at EverBee. I can't take credit for inventing those things. I am a student of the people before me.
That's awesome. Aren't we all? And could you take us through like where, I would love to get into like where EverBee is now and then the future, but first bring us back in time to like, what did EverBee look like when you first started out? The reason I'm asking this question is to almost give everybody watching this permission that if your goal is to grow a company is like at the stage of EverBee, even though just a toddler, still very like, not advantageous is the wrong word, desirable, I think, for a lot of people. But what it started out as is completely different. And it's often not, the platonic ideal, certainly from the very beginning. So like, what did that look like? And like, also, what was your feeling or emotional attachment to it when you first went to market in the current state that it was in?
That's a great question. It's interesting. This is just a proof. It's a great question because a lot of people, we don't know how we're going to evolve over time. When I first started EverBee, it was actually going to be a side project. And I wanted it to be $10,000 a month in revenue. So that way that I can actually start my next big tech company. That was my mission. And the way I described that is like, EverBee is going to be this cute little thing. It's going to like create a Chrome extension. It's going to like help, some people, and it's going to like free up my life to where I focus on like a big tech company and like probably raise money and do all this stuff and do the big thing. Cause I thought that was the right way. Totally wrong, by the way. I was so wrong about that. And eventually get that $10,000 in revenue and you have momentum and you start realizing, oh, wow, there's a lot of problems here to be solved. And oh, wow, like I'm actually falling in love with like our type of customer persona, right? Like they are literally me. They were me before EverBee. They were like hungry. They wanted freedom. They wanted location freedom. They wanted time freedom. They wanted financial freedom. They wanted to serve their community. They wanted to serve their family. They wanted to be the best version of themselves. They're hungry as hell, but they're also not like super technical. They're not super great marketers. They're super creative, but they don't really know how to sell. And I'm like, dude, literally get to serve myself from the past. And I get to create entrepreneurs, get to embrace capitalism. Like, because I believe capitalism is like the savior to 90%, 95% of our problems in this world. And so I'm like, this is a worthwhile mission, but I didn't know that at the time when I first started EverBee. I had no idea that the vision was going to expand like this and the mission was going to get bigger. And so that happened probably a year and 6 months in, because I was at that point reached that goal. And at that point I was like, oh, wow, I just shifted from this is going to be a cute project to this is probably going to be my life's work. And I'm going to dedicate myself 10 years to this thing. And so I told myself 10 years to start with, just because 20 years sounds crazy, too crazy for now. But yeah, we're minimum going to go 10 years minimum before we even think about anything else.
That's awesome. And in the meantime, you noticed or mentioned how as you started getting more and more expertise in the user profile and like who you were trying to solve problems for, like once you start to get that ingrained, you start all these other things, like these beautiful opportunities for improvement start to present themselves. And that if you just stay with it long enough and stay focused and dedicated and all the other things on top of it, that good things can happen. And I think the last thing I want to ask about with where EverBee currently is I think when I look at everything you built, the brand recognition of EverBee is like before you and I even first met, I had known EverBee, and I'm not even an Etsy seller by trade, like, but I had known it just from being in the ecosystems. Like when you want to do research, EverBee is the place that you go to, like not even a question. And for whatever reason, even though I knew about other research tools and things out there, it in my mind had always been like a one-stop shop, like one answer. And I'm curious if that was something that was intentionally crafted or kind of was a lagging indicator of maybe some of the values that you carried as a company, or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks for saying those things. It means a lot as any entrepreneur, right? When someone uses your stuff and gets value out of it, it's like the dream come true. Was it intentional? I knew that, like, because our first version of this product was a Google Sheet. Like it was a Google Sheet. Like I literally set up a marketing page and I was like, find 100, like here's 150 top selling products on Etsy. It was literally that. And it was a Google Sheet I built myself manually. So I figured as soon as we get that, if people actually want that, and by the way, that was free at the time, as soon as someone opts in for their email for that thing, I feel like it's going to be, we're onto something. And then next stage is like, if someone pays for that thing, then we're definitely onto something. And so we kind of did it that way. And then as soon as I get a flow of customers wanting the same thing, so as soon as I can kind of prove that there's a, funnel that works and like people actually continually want this thing, then now we have a business. Now we have something that we can like lean in on, and now we're gonna be able to make money and actually do this thing for long term. So that was intentional. That was very intentional. As soon as I started realizing that kind of who our customers were, and by the way, I did customer interviews. I invited every single one of our paid customers onto an interview for literally like almost like a year plus for EverBee research. My calendar was booked with customers. And these were like 30-minute, they always were scheduled for 30 minutes, but they would always go to 45 minutes to an hour, zero charge. Literally all they did, paid $29 a month for the subscription. Like so much value I wanted to just give because I was getting a whole bunch of value. And what I was repeatedly seeing was that, dude, we are on to something. Like there is problems here. They're not being solved. And there's tools out here that are trying to solve it, but not really putting their face to it. They're not like leaning all the way in. They're kind of like, seems to me like a money grab more of a thing because they're not really like putting their own face and their own personal brand on it. So whereas me, I'm like, I'm putting my personality on it. Like if they hate EverBee, they're also probably hating me. If they think EverBee's a scam, that means I'm probably a scammer, right? So it's like I'm putting my reputation at risk here too. I'm not like just EverBee and who's the founder of EverBee? Oh, I don't know, like probably somebody. So I had a much bigger stake in the game now at this point, which I think is the future of just commerce just in general, but it's another topic. I think I lost track on the question because I went on a rant.
That was great. And what I'm hearing is it's kind of like a culmination of all the things just beautifully building on top of themselves, which is your guidance of starting with the customer first in mind and not just paying lip service to that, but really backing that up with action and not just a little bit of action, but consistent long-term, like not letting your foot off the gas type of action. Yep. And you, at the same time, you didn't go all in on this has to be the solution. From what I'm hearing, it sounded like you kept an eye on the horizon in the beginning. Like, this is what I think could be a good solution to a problem that I think is a big problem, but I'm going to let the market tell me. And I'm not just going to listen passively. I'm going to get in there and have as many conversations, direct conversations as possible, and then let that be the guiding North Star, which has brought things to where they are today. So hopefully for everybody listening, we can hear clearly that what we see today with the company is not how it started. And a lot of the building blocks that have grown it into the company that it is came from a lot of the mindset things that then just manifest themselves as the actions that were taken to grow the company to where it is today. Now, as we look towards the future, and I'd love to jam on this with you, like in general terms, where do you see e-commerce and print on demand going as we look a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road? And obviously it's a impossible guess with how fast everything is rapidly evolving, but you are also uniquely positioned. Like you have insights to so much of the community that maybe other people don't. So from where you're standing, where would you guess things might lead?
I think it's a good question. I mean, obviously no one has a crystal ball, but we're all playing in this similar game. I think the future, it belongs to creators. It's interesting to think about. There's two ways I think about these things is like, we can say, hey, what's going to change about the future? I think we talked about this at a coffee shop one day, a couple weeks ago, last week. We could say, hey, what's the future going to look like? What's going to change in the next 10 years, right? Or you can take a step back and say, hey, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? What's not going to change is much easier to predict than what is going to change, I believe. So what's the e-commerce landscape look like now? AI is here to stay. We know that. Print on demand, it's a beast. It's an opportunity. It's low hanging fruit. It's low risk. I think that's not going to change. AI is here. Print on demand is here. AI is not going anywhere in the next 10 years. It's only going to get bigger and more powerful. Print on demand is only going to get bigger and more powerful. Manufacturers are only going to be able to create more products for us creators to actually sell. Categories we want to expand in the print on demand category. All of that stuff. Are people going to stop buying things online in 10 years? No, they're not. Guess what? It's only going to, they're going to only demand more options. They're only going to more faster delivery. They're only going to want probably cheaper prices. They're only going to want a better experience. Are they going to want a worse experience in 10 years? No, they're not, So it's like some of these things just aren't going to change. And so that's how I base a lot of my decisions at EverBee. What's not going to change? So what I see that a new category kind of revealing itself, and we call it creator commerce. And this is basically creator first commerce. So essentially, like the way that I think about this is there's e-commerce as a category, traditional e-commerce. And if you think about this, you think of like Adidas or Nike, and you think about these are brand first like companies, right? Big box stores, direct to consumer brands, a lot of heavy logistics and paid ads. You think about this as traditional e-commerce. And then when you think about creator commerce, it flips it around completely. It's relationship first. It's focused around the creator. So example, it'd be you or it'd be me. And it's powered by trust and it's powered by a community. And the creator is the brand. And the most important thing is the personal connection between like a buyer and the creator. That's the customer relationship. And so I think that's the future of e-commerce, I guess you can say. AI, creator commerce, relationship first. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
And then the intersection of those things, I think almost we kind of backed into what you're working on next. Not just working on, what you've been working on. And what I see as one of the, I've seen a lot of companies make a lot of new features and products, and a lot of them are, not to knock anybody, I've certainly done the same thing. It's incremental improvements, which there's definitely a place for that. But when I look at all the things that I know are on the near horizon and already here, the things that truly excite me, I can count on one hand. Like AI would be one of them. I'd say how ads have become easier and easier, which again, that's just another version of AI, with the algorithms improving, which lowers the barrier to entry. Those would be two first ones. And then third is what you're doing with you and your team are doing with EverBee Store. And I see that as truly exciting because one, it's just really exciting whenever somebody challenges a major status quo. That's just exciting and something to follow from the get-go. But then second, and more relevant to everybody who's watching, it's coming from a person and a team that have truly dedicated themselves to, if nothing else, doing the very best that they can by the customers that they're trying to serve. Never assuming that they have a better understanding of what the customer needs than the customer themselves. So all that to say, what is EverBee Store for anybody who doesn't know, first off, and why do you see it as truly the solution or part of the solution? Obviously, everything's a work in progress to where you hopefully see things going in the future.
What is EverBee Store? I guess I'll start there. EverBee Store is the first AI-powered creator commerce platform of the world. I'll say that. Now, what does that mean is the question. Well, first, like, I believe EverBee Store is more than just like a website builder with some like AI features just sprinkled on top. We're leaning into like the first fully integrated AI-powered platform. Like you can call it e-commerce platform. We call it a creator commerce platform. And it's built specifically for creators, for myself, for you, for people who are trying to create something and selling something online and they want an online business. That's what this means. And so the idea is that we're embracing AI like from the beginning. AI doesn't just help you, it kind of builds it for you. And you should be able to give it a simple prompt like, I want to sell Christian t-shirts to moms. And also want to have digital products too. And the system sets up your storefront. It like helps you structure your site. It builds the back end, builds the front end. It like builds the payments processing, builds all your copy for you. And then it walks through everything. And like, then all you do is like, you put in the products. And by the way, it'll like create products for you. It'll create the title and description, all the SEO and the tags and all the stuff that's not fun for creators. That's what I believe like platonic ideal version of EverBee Store would be. So that's what EverBee Store kind of is. It's the fastest way to bring your idea from idea to income, like in the world, I believe. And our goal is to do it in 10 minutes or less. So like it's a very simple thing of like, if Chris wants to sell something online, what are his options? He has to go to Shopify. He has to figure out Shopify and like do it, probably hire someone to help him do it, pick a theme, set up his like all of his terms of service. And like, then you have all the checkout settings or whatever, like, you know that better than anybody else. It works. Cool. Beautiful. It works. But just because it works doesn't mean there can't be a better way. And so that's what EverBee Store is building, is like the better way to actually get online and get selling. That's what I believe we're doing. I'm not knocking Shopify. I'm not knocking any of those other platforms, but they're older and things need to improve, not just incrementally. Like, needs to be a step change in the way that we sell online, because that's what the customers demand of us. So
Yeah.
to answer the question.
Yeah, no, that was great. And to add on to why I see this as a really exciting move is that, like you mentioned, to the speed at which it helps somebody go from idea to actually selling, and things are off the ground. That's definitely exciting. Where I get personally even more excited is in the difference between marketplace selling versus like standalone brand, and the longevity that comes with that. Like the email list that you're able to build up, the fact that you're building a real asset, and when people get into this, from me, having the pleasure of talking with members one-on-one, similar to how you did, people, their goals are not, I want to be doing this for 2 months or 3 months. It's, they don't even think in terms of that. They think in terms of how they want to change their life for the long term, how they want to have more side income to support their family, or to be able to take their family on vacations, or to support a sick loved one, or they just want to create something and they want to have something that they feel proud of. That's a project that they're able to continually improve. And all those things are possible on marketplaces. But for anybody who's truly in it for the long term, the asset that's being built is almost being robbed from day one when it's set up on a marketplace. Not to say there isn't an opportunity or people don't make money there. None of that by any means. But to me, anybody who's in this for even the medium term, the long term, it makes all the sense in the world to build a standalone brand. The big old asterisk next to that has always been the massive learning curve that you have to get over in order to, actually kick that dream off. And so it almost becomes a non-starter for a lot of people. And so when I see what you're doing with EverBee Store, it's twofold, like focusing on solving one main massive problem, but then it also solves a secondary one almost just by way of like solving the first one, which is lower the barrier to entry to like 10 minutes or less is insane. Right now it's like 10 months or less on Shopify. Not quite 10 months, but like certainly not 10 minutes.
10 weeks.
And
as 10 days
that, 10 weeks. As that is like compressed further and further, it opens up everybody to the possibility of like really tapping into that and no longer being beholden to, people use marketplaces because it's fast to get up and selling. That's it. And removing that barrier opens up like back to capitalism, it's leveling the playing field for everybody so that people are no longer beholden to these marketplaces as like the only way that a mom and a pop are able to get up and selling. It makes it accessible to everybody. And not to sound grandiose, that is like life changing and world changing for many, many people. And now obviously with any big undertaking like that, there's a lot of millions of like minor issues and paper cuts that can't be possibly foreseen as you're getting started with it. So it's a huge undertaking, but it's one that's certainly worthwhile. I'd say how is your mindset compared to like what we were talking about at the beginning, your mindset going into EverBee research like 4-ish years ago? How has your mindset shifted or maybe just strengthened around, your user profile, the impact you want to have, now the team and the resources? Like, how has that shift benefited like the way that you were approaching EverBee store?
Such a good question. If I look back, actually 10 years ago is 2015, maybe 9 years ago, I was sitting down with an architect. I worked at Qualcomm, which is a technical company, or I'm sorry, an engineering company, microchips, things like that, semiconductors. I remember sitting down with an architect talking about startup ideas 9 years ago. And I wanted to build one then. And we were sitting down at a lunch table or something like that. And I was just picking his brain. I'm like, hey, how would you do this? How would you do this? Not really knowing anything about anything. And we talked about Shopify a little bit at that time, 9 years ago. And I'm just like, that's the key. That's like, you want to be the platform that would give me so much gratitude and excitement to have people building their businesses on top of my business. Like, what better thing could you possibly be spending your life doing than enabling more businesses, which enable more freedom, which enables more, XYZ great lives. That's when so if I actually think about the platform, it was 9 years ago. So it's been 9 years in the making actually to get to this point where we have EverBee store. Going from at that point where I had no customers, no insights, it was just an idea, would have been silly to do that. So it's always been part of the vision, at least, is to be an own standalone platform to enable people to build businesses on top of us. It's always been the vision. We just had to take different trails in order to get there. And our trail was product research first, and it was keyword research, and it was EverBee email. Then we even played with like print on demand a little bit, and then eventually EverBee store. So now is the time to do it. But it's been 9 years in the making, actually, of this thing finally being realized to where we can be an independent platform that actually serves people to benefit their lives. And we can say like, look at that business built on top of us. Oh, look at that business built on top of us. Look at that. And then we get to benefit when they benefit. It's the most beautiful thing ever. And I always said, as soon as we get to that point, like that's when the game begins. It's like, that's where the future lies, for myself, at least personally, is I don't have to think about doing anything else because it's like my life's work. So that's the way I look at it right now.
Took 9 years to become an overnight success, or to start the overnight success.
Success.
Yeah. There you go.
We just released today. So like, we'll see. But overall, like even if whatever it is today, it's going to look different next year from now. It's going to just continue to get better because we listen to our customers so deeply. There's no way to lose if you just pay attention to your customers. There's no way to lose. Yeah.
And you mentioned you just released today, like the public release.
Yeah. At this time of recording, at least 3 hours ago. Yeah.
Nice.
Like everybody. Yeah.
And how's that feel?
Christina, my wife, asked me the same thing. She's like, how are you feeling? I'm just like, it feels anticlimactic. Yeah. Just like, I feel excited and grateful, of course, but I've been excited and grateful for my entire life, right? So it feels like, cool. We released something really, really hard and really, really cool. And it feels exciting. But also like when you picture a release and a big launch, like you picture like these $1 million days and you picture like this happening and like fireworks go off. It's just not how it works in software. It's just not how it works. You have to fix bugs, and it's a slow burn. You know that better than everybody. You know that well with Mystic.
Oh yeah. It's you have to stay married to the process, to the inputs. And when you enjoy what you're doing every day and you're structured it in a way that is sustainable for you, and you stay laser focused on the things that matter most in the short term to open up bandwidth for bigger possibilities in the long term. But it's interesting. One of the couple of rapid fire questions that I have to wrap things up, if you're game, is I think a lot about this concept of having to relearn lessons. How do you react or respond internally or otherwise for yourself when you catch yourself having to relearn the same lesson or getting the opportunity to relearn the same lesson that maybe you already encountered, challenge years in the past, multiple times that you had to learn it, but then for whatever reason, it just doesn't fully sink in. What's your response to that?
My first response is I'm aware of it. I try to be aware of it as much as possible. I'm like, the universe, God was trying to teach me this originally. And for some reason, I did not get it. Why did I not? What did I not get? So I ask myself these questions. And then if you just simply pause, if I just simply pause and ask myself that question, usually I can come up with a bunch of different answers. And usually a lot of them are partially right. That's usually my response of like, why, what did I do? Did I not learn this? And then it usually goes into, okay, let's fix that problem. Because then it's just a problem at this point. We're like, okay, well, why didn't I not stick to my diet plan? It's like because I told myself I was going to commit to this, lose 10 pounds last year. And here we are a year later, setting my goals for 2025. Interesting. That was my goal last year and I didn't. What the hell? Like, why am I even setting the fucking goals if I'm not like willing to like commit to them and keep to them? What am I not learning here? Oh, okay. Got it. I think that I can do it all by myself. Oh, interesting. I didn't have a nutritionist in the past. Maybe I don't know everything about nutrition. Wild idea. Maybe I don't know everything. Okay. Well, this year I'm going to hire a nutritionist this year. Got it. Maybe I don't know everything about weightlifting and fat loss. Oh, interesting. Okay. I need to probably hire someone to maybe that already has a six pack. Maybe not just ask the guy who does not have a six pack how to get a six pack. Probably a good idea to ask somebody that's been there and done that before. So I like to look at things very objectively like this. That's my response typically. And fortunately, you get a lot of breakthroughs in this way. It's the same thing for money and business. If you have the same amount, you have a savings goal of this much money and you still are there next year, it's not just by luck. This is behaviors that are happening repeatedly that you are not changing. And you do have control over a lot of these things. And guess what, Cody? This is what I talk to myself. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to do it for you. No one is going to save you. You need to save yourself. And so this is my typical response. Usually a little bit of tough love in there.
Yeah, it's a lot of internal dialogue. I love it. And second to last question is what excites you about the future?
Dude, we're moving into an unprecedented time as we're all knowing. We all feel it. I'm so excited about the future of entrepreneurship. I think that people need to take more control of their lives and they need more control of their finances. And the idea that you should leave it up to other people in order to dictate whether your bills are going to get paid or not is ludicrous to me. And somehow we've tolerated this as a society. People are too reliant on their jobs, way too reliant on your jobs. That is crazy to be reliant on your jobs. And you think it's safe. You think your job is safe. You're kidding me, right? With AI happening right now, you're bonkers to believe that your job is more safe than taking a plunge into an entrepreneurship idea. It is so risky to not start a business. It's so fucking risky to leave your future and your kid's future and your wife's future, or your husband's future in another company's hands. By the way, the company, they're not loyal to you. They are loyal to their shareholders and to the profits of the company. When there's an AI ability to replace you, they're going to explore it. And I know this because I'm also a business owner. I'm doing the same thing. No surprise, right? This is how it works as an economy. So I'm really excited about the future of digital entrepreneurship. I think hasn't even got started yet. I think people are going to lean all the way in on entrepreneurship. And when they do this, a lot of innovation and a lot of things are going to happen. We're already seeing it happen. I'm just really excited about that. So selfishly, I'm very excited about EverBee Store playing a big role in that journey. My mission has always been how do we create more entrepreneurs? How do we serve more entrepreneurs? And the best way to serve them is to create them. We're not trying to steal people from Shopify. We're trying to create entrepreneurs that did not believe in themselves. They didn't know that they could. They didn't know that they had the ability and the optionality to create a business. We want to create those people. And so I'm really excited about these things. I don't know if you could tell, but fired up.
Yeah. Something in there that you said that a couple of years ago, even last year, would have been kind of a crazy statement is it's risky to not be starting to take a leap and starting your own business. But today it feels so accurate that it's like having an opposing point of view is kind of crazy. That businesses in general, they are, like you said, they're committed to their shareholders. Like, it's just capitalism. They have to be. They have to be committed to the shareholders and the bottom line. And because if they're not, then they're not a business, and then they're just a charity. So like, it's just the natural order of things.
Exactly.
So,
and anyone listening to this, you're a business owner, or you're going to be, and you will for sure look at AI to try to like automate something that you could have used to use a human for. I'm no different. You're no different. Like, this is how capitalism works. Exactly. Keep going. Sorry.
yeah, I don't know. You're great. And I think it's good friends will tell you what you want to hear, but best friends are people that really, really care about you. They are willing to share the news that you don't want to hear that best serves you. And so even though it sounds like a tough love message, and it is, knowing you personally, and hopefully it comes across like from both of us that it truly comes with nothing but care. It would be way easier to say, things are going to be great. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Keep rocking and rolling. But two sides of the coin. One, the risk of not doing it. But two, the immense upside. Now more than ever, and only going to continue to be that way. Such an exciting time. And to wrap things up, Cody, I'd love to hear, if you want to share, where can people find out more about you, about EverBee store? Where can they get in touch?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. EverBee store, everbee.io/store is like our main marketing page for that. Sign up. It's like it's $1 for the first 30 days. And then it's $29 a month after. So it's more affordable than a lot of alternatives. And I think it's better, arguably, but I am biased, to be very clear. Where can people find me personally? Built Online podcast I'm the host of Built Online podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship and all this stuff that we're having here today. More conversations.
An incredible podcast, a complete sleeper of a podcast, deserves 1,000 times the subscribers. The quality and the depth of the conversations that Cody has on there is incredible. I highly recommend it. Sorry,
you're biased because you were a guest last.
Yes, the most recent guest, or 2 guests ago, was most impressive. Definitely. No, they're all awesome. And that was the last thing I wanted to say is thank you, Cody, for sharing all of this with us today. And what I take most, not just from this conversation, but all of our conversations together, is every time I have the pleasure of chatting with you, it almost feels like touching home, or like touching home base, and like reconnecting with like, okay, I've made all this progress. So like, now let's reevaluate, like, or return to what really matters. Like, what am I really trying to do with this short time that we all get here? And it is such a gift having that kind of reminder, because it can be so easy. I've gone through years of my life where I just go through the motions, like, productive and output, all things are good-ish, but I think with that touch point, it really magnifies the impact that you're able to have with just that. And it's such a simple like exercise to do, but it really takes like having conversations like this, at least for me, to really return to that home base. So thank you for sharing that, not only with me, but with all of us today. Super excited for the future. And a lot of it comes down to people like yourself who are pushing the boundaries and challenging our belief of what is possible. And a lot of times when I chat with you, I'm reminded of the Steve Jobs quote. That I won't quote the whole thing, but basically the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the only ones who ever do. And so on that note, just want to thank you again, a good friend, for joining us here today. And thank you for everything that you're doing, because you put out just waves of positivity and innovation in everything that you do. And the next year is going to be incredible, but I can't wait to see what you do over the next 10 to 20. So I'm just happy to be along for the ride.
Just want to say too, before we jump off, Chris, thank you right back at you, man. I appreciate you and I appreciate this. But I also appreciate, like, more importantly than all the stuff that you do with business and our conversations about business, I appreciate you as a human and as a friend. I would say in the past year, just getting to know you and Meg as well. I'm just excited to know you guys more, but I'm really grateful that we've had the ability to connect in person multiple times, and appreciate your friendship. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we'll have to do this in person next time, because we live about 20 minutes from each other. So
It's silly we didn't get a chance to do that. I know. That's my bad.
Well, next time. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Cody mentioned everbee.io/store is where you can get started with your $1 trial if you're interested in checking that out. But if nothing else, be sure to follow along with Cody's podcast, the Build Online podcast. It's awesome stuff in there. Lots of golden nuggets to take away. But all the links that we mentioned will be in the description down below. And if you have any questions or comments for Cody, we'll be reading them. Be sure to leave them down below, and we'd love to chat with you. But other than that, Cody, thank you.
Thank you, brother. See you.
Hope you have a great rest of your week, and everybody else, take care, and we'll see you soon.